Alex Kulev, welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
But people are always asking about the backstory. But I had a couple friends who are online pros, and they're particularly interested in yours because they said, sure, there are a lot of people who kind of rose fast and reached high stakes quickly, but your rise is just meteoric and like the fastest in recent history. So if you can tell us a little bit about how you got from $50 online tournaments to 300K live buy-ins in what, 2 years, 2.5, 3 years?
Closer to 4, but yeah.
Okay, fair. Well, 100K is maybe like 2 years, something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell
Well,
us a bit about that.
the short answer is COVID. COVID really helped me, even though it doesn't sound as something that would help you, but just COVID, not itself, but everything surrounding COVID helped me a lot because it just calmed everything for me. When I was in my early 20s, things were too rushed. I was forcing myself to do this, that, and I didn't really have a routine of going about poker and going about life. So COVID really centered me into one place, one setting, because with all the COVID restrictions we had in Europe, you had to, at the beginning, you had to stay basically in your home. Then you had 2 or 3 kilometers outside of your perimeter to go out into. Everything calmed for me. So COVID really organized me as a person and as a poker player. And the beginning of COVID, I still wasn't playing online MTTs, at least seriously enough. And then I remember my first score was in a $50 tournament, as you said. It was a $50. Party Poker had its series. It used to be called Power Fest or something like that. They don't have it anymore. I don't know if Party Poker is even functional anymore, but they had Power Fest. It was basically W Cup, but for Party Poker. So I was able to win that tournament whilst playing Zoom cash tables on the side. And that really, you know, gave me the motivation to play more tournaments, to study more, and that's what really started it. So yeah.
That's the modest answer. Now I want the real answer because like 8 billion people experienced COVID and everyone was locked down and had to do something, but you got really good at poker and a lot of people aren't where you are.
I guess it was an obsession. My first result showed me that I can be somewhat good, and then with every result that followed, I was just more and more obsessed and hungry to prove to myself what point I can reach. I had aspirations, but my target was just to play better. I was playing a Tuesday session. I just wanted to play better on a Wednesday. So it was just one thing after another. There were a lot of things happening for online poker during COVID. We had a lot of series. We had a very prolonged scoop. So that gave me more tournaments to practice on. And then I quickly found out that if I put in the work, I can progress reasonably quickly. To be fair, I didn't. We all have our dreams, but I didn't think that I would reach super high rollers as quickly as I did. Uh, for me, that was never really the target. For me, it was just about I was captivated by the game. I wanted to learn. I wanted to get better. I wanted to compete, and that really that way of thinking allowed me to progress as a poker player.
So let me divide it into kind of three parts. What I feel like you've described so far is opportunity and motivation and
Sure.
how those coalesced.
Mhm.
Then I think of aptitude, and just whatever, for lack of a better term, we'll call it general intelligence. And then there's hard work. So why don't we take aptitude for a moment? What do you think? One, do you think you have a natural aptitude for poker? My vote is yes. And if so, what parts of the game do you think you're a natural pattern recognizer? What's going on that you think helped you quickly before you actually put in a ton of work?
I would say I extrapolate well. If I see that, for example, in some sim, the solver does this in this spot, I'm able to explain the reasons for the solver choosing that line. in that particular spot, and then I'm able to extrapolate it to different spots. Probably, obviously, not as well as the solver will, but I have something at the back of my head that tells me this I can do because the solver did this. The logic behind this is X and Y, so I can put it into place. The second, so yeah, I think poker is something that I'm naturally gifted at, but I think I just love the game. I love games in general. I love both the study side and the competitive side. Uh, but I think it's a mix between being naturally gifted at something and also just enjoying it and just loving what you do. So if there is what poker, the particular thing where I think I'm naturally good at is just, as you said, recognizing patterns and implementing them in game and not being scared to take some lines that can prove very foolish.
All right, so let's hit that third part, the hard work. This is where a lot of my friends who are online regs are particularly interested. Is all right. I may not be able to just inherit Alex's natural aptitude for the game, but what kinds of things was he working on? How did he accelerate that learning curve so quickly?
Mhm.
So maybe backing it up first rather than what you study today. But you're playing $50 online multi-table tournaments, and that just becomes $200, becomes eventually playing big stakes live. What were you studying? What were you focusing on?
Coming up when after my initial micro success at the $50 binds, which was just few tournaments, I very soon after that, I think a week or so after that, I got pious over. So I just marked hands. I got ranges, and the ranges at the beginning I didn't have ranges. I kind of just made them up.
I know
As,
that game.
yeah, and I ran the sim and I tried to explain the spot to myself. And I feel at that point, tournament players, I cannot speak about everyone, but most of them were focused on other things. Like I've met super high rollers recently, and they will tell me, I study only 50 BB and shallower. You don't have to study uh, for deeper stacks than that. So for me, I was interested at the deep stack spots, 100 BB, 150 BB, and my tournament players always, they study something like Isomizer, HRC. For me, those things came later on. For me, it was just bias over and explaining to myself why the computer would do this and that in that spot, and that's what really interested it interested me as to see how this game should actually be played. So this is what I if you want a particular tool, this is the tool I used in the early stages, and I'll just play, mark hands, and then try to run as many sims as I can, explain those sims to myself, and then do it all over again.